All right, chat. So we're gonna check out Path of Exiles 2 Rapid Fire Review by Angry Joe. Really excited for this one, guys. So let's check it out. I'm dead.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another Rapid Fire Review, this time for Grinding Gear Games' Path of Exile 2, the Early Access launch. As with other Early Access reviews, I've done my best to take into consideration how much of a work in progress this game is. All sorts of things can and have changed since day one, so much of what we are going to discuss is this game's bones. This particular ARPG space has had some rather disappointing launches as of late. We've had some games come out with poor performance.
I actually heard a lot of people liked Last Epoch. I didn't play it, but I heard a lot of people actually liked it on launch.
And undercooked systems. And famously, Blizzard has cemented itself as an entity that is impossible to underestimate, further sinking into their abyss of minimum viable product mediocrity, tarnishing their once lauded name so badly that I believe they will be used as a bad example for generations. With how much I enjoyed Path of Exile 1, I had fairly lofty expectations. Hell, a lofty need for Path of Exile 2 to be something that would scratch that itch. Sometimes you just want to do some mindless runs, respec a character from scratch, and burn through all of your gold and materials. See what a new season has in store, come up with your own build, and die from bullshit off-screen with no warning.
If you guys been to our streams, you know that's what I do.
Fortunately for me, Path of Exile 2 did scratch that itch, especially that part where I died to bullshit from off-screen. What we got here in this early launch was 3 of the 6 chapters of the campaign, 6 of the 12 character classes, and half the total skills that players can use to dip into. We also got much of the endgame map system that you can use to test builds, farm gear, and die to the most horrendous random bullshit you have ever seen in modern video games. The campaign length, as of now, I would say is about 15 to 20 hours, depending on how familiar you are with Path of Exile and this type of game. We have the standard medieval dark fantasy villages.
You know he's a noob on Warrior, right? He's using the sword and board. More damage, more damage!
And manors in the first act, the desert ruins and nomadic tribes in the second, and the mysterious jungle in the third.
Did he just mount that? What? You can mount that thing?
All with various degrees of demonic possession, grime and grit, and generously sprinkled with blood and guts absolutely everywhere. This campaign was significantly more challenging than I had expected, but I wouldn't say it's at all insurmountable, even for people new to the genre. But it's a bit of a departure from the norm, since in my opinion, the game designers for this genre have often erred on the side of...
You guys saw that too, right? He mounted that, right? Chat, let me know. YouTube comments, let me know. Have you ever mounted in this game? I thought there was no mounts in this game. My mind is blown.
Of baby mode when they've been setting difficulty in their games, but not here with Path of Exile 2. And it was nice to have to sit and rethink my build, actually search for and construct items I needed, or explore those optional areas and make sure I got that extra level or permanent stats. The story of the campaign is pretty standard stuff. Our baby character washes up on a shore, we slowly increase in power.
Literally just watching. He's literally AFK killing him. Crazy, dude.
We help the needy, we get wrapped up in bigger and bigger conflicts, then ultimately we must be the savior of the lives and souls of everyone in the land. For what we get so far, it's decent enough, but it still isn't, as of now, on the level of presentation of Blizzard. Hopefully, as we get the final 3 chapters in the game, the story can get more interesting, and perhaps a bit less paint-by-numbers basic than it is now.
Interesting.
Once you finish the campaign, you have the option to up the difficulty to Cruel.
He just gave 1 to Blizzard, 0 to Path for that one? That's what it sounds like, right?
And after that much faster run, you gain access to the endgame map system. Though it looks complicated, ultimately it's just a set of customizable instances with some set characteristics. The level and difficulty of these maps is mostly up to the player. What keys you use to unlock the maps will change the level of monster, rarity of loot, and even how much seizure-inducing pixel puke is sprayed on your screen. The inclusion of the map system in this early access, for me, is a good sign. While I do believe the campaign is and absolutely should be worthwhile, for me the endgame is where I spend the most amount of time in these games, and not to constantly point fingers back at that miserable pile of disappointment made by hacks only concerned with their mobile game whales, but we needed at least a hint of a fleshed out endgame system to separate further from D4. This early access isn't all puppies and putrescence though. There have been some missteps, some simple fixes, but other things just have quite a few of us scratching our heads on how the hell anyone approved it. Movement or lack of movement in this game is something that took a lot of getting used to. A dodge roll, for most classes, is going to be your main and probably only means of reliable escape. And before its recent change, it wasn't even reliable. The game's focus on skills being accessible to all classes is a wonderful system that allows for incredibly deep customization based on 12 classes worth of skill.
Do we agree with that? Do we agree with that take? I felt like the dodge roll was actually, it sucked when you got trapped, but they fixed it. But I actually feel the movement in this game is pretty solid. I never really heard anybody with that take that they think there's not enough movement in this game. I'm in a small minority where I've been saying I want mounts, but apparently there's a mount. But I feel like the flexibility and movement has been pretty good, So I don't know if I agree with that take.
Skills, support gems, and one of the craziest passive trees in gaming. The problem is, quite a bit of that customization isn't available yet. So some specific builds are going to need that next set of classes to come out before they can be used, at least at high levels. Respecking your character is a simple process, and as of now, it isn't all that expensive to do so. Though when I did it, it did cost twice as much, and I did waste about 1 million gold swapping passives around. The one thing you can't change, though, is your class's Ascendancy. About halfway through the game, you have to make the biggest choice, which of 2 available Ascendancies your character will go through. Don't choose wrong, though, and there are wrong choices here. At least for now, some are bad, and others are worse. The one I chose, Blood Witch, was just broken for a few weeks since Life Leech didn't even work. I'm sure balance patches will fix some of the problems here.
That is a problem I have as well. I'll agree with them on the Ascendancy. If you guys are watching me do it live on Twitch, we were going to go Titan with our warrior, right? We were going to go Titan. And somebody in chat said, check out the other one first. Check it out. And what did I do? All right, I went and checked it out. Since I'm like dyslexic, ADHD, stupid, retarded, whatever you want to call me, I clicked accept instead of back. So I'm a barbarian warrior now. And it had it didn't say, oh, are you sure? Are you sure you want to make this lifelong decision with one click without anything? No, it just click and it's done. That kind of pissed me off, bro.
Kind of feels bad to be permanently locked in when some of the classes are so much worse than the other.
I agree, but actually the barbarians turn out to be pretty good.
Speaking of feel bads, getting the Ascendancies, especially level 3 and 4, is
another great take. I agree 100%. I hate the Ascendancies. I'm right now, just now on mapping on my warrior, and I hate it. I hate the Ascendancy so bad. I have to go back and do them. I passed all of cruelty difficulty without doing them because I hate them that much.
It's just miserable. Running through floor after floor of miserable trap dodging and annoying, untelegraphed enemy attacks just to have one random thing hit you and remove 4,000 honor for an instant loss is just poor design.
I agree.
And I did it with a ranged
100.
character, which is easier, and it was still absolutely miserable. Especially tier 4 traps. My heart really goes out to the non-power gamer melee characters trying. They've made
or warrior, bro.
Some adjustments here already, but it's not enough. You have to be stacking 75% honor resistance just to have a shot, and bad RNG can still auto-fail you. On one hand, these are optional tests, and they should be challenging. But most of the time it felt like a test of persistence to get the right RNG, rather than a test of skill or build. The other miserable grind is the inconsistent waystone drop about halfway through the tiers. You need these keys even to play the endgame, and the drop rate is horrible. Early on, you can supplement with the merchant selling level 1 keys that you can recombine into level 2s and 3s, and maybe 4s if you're rich. But until you get much deeper into the Atlas passive tree to increase drop rates and the rarity of the keys, you can get stuck. Once you truly reach the end, you'll have more keys than you know what to do with. But it feels wrong that the system only feels good right at the very end and sucks the entire time getting there. Another reason it feels so good right at the end of the game is you get an absolute ton of loot. During the campaign, though, it's much, much harder to secure gear. The drops aren't great, upgrading is way too unreliable, and if you're really unlucky, like OJ was, it can take a long time getting the weapon upgrades some characters need to progress. They've tweaked it some, but it's still tough, especially for newer players who may not know the ins and outs of the most obscure Path of Exile loot crafting systems.
I hate the trading in this game. That's what he's getting into now. I hate it. I hate it more than anything in this world. That really is not, doesn't matter really, but I hate it. I hate it so much. I wish they just had an in-game auction house. I spent 1 hour today dealing with AFKers trying to get an item today. Then I finally got the guy to trade me. My bags were full. And I said, my bad, dude. It wasn't even full. I just had to rearrange them to make space. I said, my bad, dude. Let me just put this in my stash. We're right next to the stash. We're in his base, right next to the stash. I said, 1 second, dude. I'm sorry. The dude dipped out, never talked to me again. And I was like, please, bro, don't do me like this. Don't do me like this. He didn't trade me the item. He must have been pissed off that I wasted his freaking 1 second extra time. I hate this system.
Trading using their website system feels unfortunately mandatory. Once I hit Act 2 of Cruel, I wasn't wearing a single piece of gear I had personally looted. It just wasn't dropping anything relevant for me. And still now, I am not wearing a single piece of gear that I personally looted. I am also hoping there will be some graphical tweaks, so I will actually be able to see what is about to explode near me. Perhaps the fake, non-damaging explosions of rare mobs and maps won't cover up the very real and very lethal explosions also littering the map. Maybe it's just me, but I'd also like to die less from stuff that's off the screen. Or at least telegraph the enemy cast corpse explosions. Perhaps. Maybe. Please. And hopefully, the maps from the other 3 unreleased acts will not have the same design philosophy of the maggot lair from Diablo 2. Who the fuck thought that a giant cluster of narrow, twisted tunnels would be fun to constantly backtrack through and play hide-and-seek with a tiny cluster of rare mobs? For a game that followed the blueprints of Diablo 2, you'd think that they'd have learned from the mistakes that Blizzard made and would avoid recreating and then duplicating the most hated portion of that game. For the new player experience, Path of Exile 2 has quite a few obscure systems. And while they explain them a little better here than they had previously, it still needs quite a bit of work. And it's not really beginner-friendly. Some of these...
I would agree a little bit that these maps are a little too big. And one of my biggest complaints is, like, I'm tired of exiting a zone and coming into the zone, and the map is cleared every time. Like, I don't like that. I want to be able to, like, clear it out, because I clear every nook and cranny. It's like my ADHD or something. I don't know. I clear every nook and cranny. So when it's done, I come back in, and it's like a whole new map. It just really bothers me. I just want to find the crypt and go do what I need to do and get out. Like, I want to be able to log on for 30 minutes because I have 30 minutes to play and get a quest done. But instead, it's like 30 minutes of just exploring the map all over again, killing the same mobs all over again. And it's like, dude, at first I was like, at least I'm getting experience. At least your boy's getting experience, right? We're going to level up. Woohoo. But then you get to mapping and then you just start leveling like that. It's just kind of crazy. I don't like it.
Systems that aren't really explained are important, and a lot of people are going to get stuck. Outside of that, I think most of the issues are smaller tweaks I expect to get adjusted in the coming months. More customizations and builds will naturally come with more classes, their skills, and maybe support gems. More Ascendancies also mean more endgame customization. When PoE 2 officially launches, it will be free to play, though the early access period is only for supporters, and that'll cost you $30 US. That'll get you almost all of the necessary quality of life stash tabs, though unless you plan to take up the game for multiple seasons, none of it's really necessary. And pretty much all of the previous microtransactions will carry over from the first game. And as with all live service games, we're going to be keeping a pretty close eye on the microtransactions here. So far, they've been mostly reasonable, but you gotta keep an eye on things like this. I'm going to give the early access period of Path of Exile 2 an 8 out of 10. Even with the current early access problems, the foundation here is...
I would probably say 8.5. 8.5 probably. Like all my complaints are valid. I think so. But none of them are like game breaking for me. They're kind of more nuisances. One of my biggest problem is like what I said, the map. One of those that's like a big. I don't like games that deliberately waste my time. Like, I'm fine wasting hours playing the game, but I don't like to have my time deliberately wasted. And when I have to go into a zone for the 4th time just to find the different route to get to the next zone or find a crypt, I feel like it's wasting my time a little bit. So that's one of my biggest problems. But for sure, like an 8.5. 8.5. I'd even say even a 9 maybe. I've been really enjoying this game.
clearly solid. And I think the future is bright for Path of Exile too. I've got more than 120 hours in for just $30, and as new classes are introduced and more fixes and tweaks are made in the game, I'm excited for the opportunity to check back in. Thanks so much for watching this rapid fire review. We have a ton of end-of-year content coming for you, so I shall see you then on the next Angry Joe Show.
Look at those 15s, dude. I changed it. It's a 9. For me, for sure, 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 for sure. But, alright, that was the Epic Joe, or the Angry Joe. Epic Joe. Angry Joe's epic review. Let me know in the comments below. And if you're here on YouTube, what you thought. Chat, let me know as well. If you guys are awake, if you're not sleeping yet. And make sure you guys like and subscribe. We do a lot of PoE stuff, react stuff. Whew, sorry, I was gonna lay here, bro. And we do some Marvel content too. We're gonna be playing a lot of Marvel Rivals. So check out the channel, guys, on Twitch. If you guys, our chat's here right now with us, but you guys on chat, go check out the YouTube channel if you haven't already. But thank you guys so much. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.